whatever. Just whatever. So you know what? If you like Wookiees, you like Star Wars, let's hear it. We want to turn up the energy in this room. Let's feel it. Do you love Star Wars? Oh yeah, that's awesome. I want to see you sign that. And I want to see how fast you can sign. Can you sign very fast? Can you keep up right now? I don't know. Let's see. Wow, that was good. I'm going to give you a hand. Nice job. All right, so I'm about to introduce our moderator. We're going to bring out the panel, and I'm hoping you guys can get to some good questions. In fact, I know one about Daniel that maybe someone should ask. And Daniel, I hope I'm not telling, but, you know, in a scene where there's a water scene and there's a fight, and he's there with his father, Jango, in the movie, and he's wearing this cool jacket. But I don't think he was supposed to wear that jacket. I think maybe a game console caught on fire, smoke, caused the sprinklers to go off, and Hayden and him were wet, and they had to cover it up before the scene. So all I can say is dig down, find out the secrets. There's a lot of great things, like he fell in love with hamburgers from In-N-Out while filming. So I understand George Lucas likes them, so there you go. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it really is exciting to be here with you. I love this stuff. I'm a fan. And more importantly, I'm excited by the panel and the moderator. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Whitta, amazing guy, and actually quite witty, and I don't mean to say that with his last name, but it's awesome, because he is. He's a very witty man, co-author of, co-writer of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And by the way, he's got cloning technology too. He's bringing out his own Jyn Erso as a bodyguard, but she's a mini-me version, but she's growing. He's growing his very own clone. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, give a big hand to Gary. Thank you so much. Oh, look at this. This clone is coming along nicely. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Hello. This is my daughter. She really wanted to come out on stage with me. Can we please give her a big round of applause? All right, thank you. Jyn Erso, everybody. All right. I'm led to believe we have some Star Wars fans in the house. Good, me too. You're my kind of people. Thank you for the 501st for leading me out here. Scarif Troopers, just for me. That was such a nice touch. I'm Gary Whitta. I'm one of the writers of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. My other peculiar claim to fame is I'm the only person ever to have written for Star Wars in film, television, books, and comics. So that's my one weird little bragging right. But I'm by far the least impressive person that will be on the stage today. I'm not quite sure the order they're supposed to come out in, so I'm just going to make it up as I go. He was just there. Let's bring back Boba Fett, Daniel Logan. Boba Fett.
Baby Boba.
Of course, behind every great villain, there is a great dad. Let's bring out Jango Fett, Temuera Morrison. And speaking of awesome dads, a particularly awesome one, this is a very special one for me. I actually get a little bit choked up when I think about that we're doing this right now. This is a character I created for Rogue One, and he's here tonight. Galen, Erso, Mads Mikkelsen is here.
Where did my daughter go?
She's right there.
Hi, Stardust.
They met backstage. It was the sweetest thing. Ian and Ray can't be with us, unfortunately, for reasons I don't quite understand, but whatever. But who needs them? It doesn't matter that I spent half an hour writing really awesome questions for Ian. Whatever. I have awesome questions for all these guys, and what it probably means is there'll be more time for Q&A with the fans, which is, I think, what really matters. I think we're going to do a quick photo before we get this thing started. Is that still correct?
One at a time?
Or was it done already? Was it done? I don't know. All I see is bright lights in my face. You want to do it real quick?
Right.
I'll get behind these guys. Oh, in front? I'll come down here.
And we should have my daughter up here as well, I think.
Yes, Jen, come.
Come on. Our daughter.
No? Too shy?
Yeah.
Do you want to go? Do you want to come back up? Real quick.
Let's get my son up here too then.
Yeah,
Why
let's
not?
get your
Well,
son up.
The all-time family photo. Jen, meet your actual dad. I'm sorry I never told you the truth.
I'm still paying for it.
He is your father. Thank you, everybody, for being so patient. Oh my goodness. Oh, there was a baby up here the whole time? I didn't even see that. The magic of Star Wars. Surprise character introductions every month.
I've been working in China, so I was like, I gotta bring my wife and kid along because I miss them so much. Especially when you don't understand the language or don't like the food. The only thing you want to do is be at home with your wife and kid, you know, even though you're wiping diapers and... I was about to say breastfeeding, I'm not doing none of that. Got a little carried away there, guys, you know?
Are you changing diapers?
Well, I promised my wife that if she had my child, I would not have her change a single diaper.
Is he changing the diapers, Katie? Okay.
There you go. So if you need any babysitting services, changing of diapers, I'm really good at that.
We got a new Fett in the house. There's a little Boba Fett. And he stays up all night with the baby too. Very good, very good.
That's what jet lag does
Very
to
good,
you.
son, very good. You got to do your bit, right? They gotta do
You're
your bit.
ruining everything for us, you know that.
You got kids, right?
Big one.
Big one, okay.
So, I did have a bunch of good questions for Ian. He's not here, but
he didn't like you.
my last question... I'm used to it.
And Ray didn't like you either.
Yeah, if Ray doesn't like me, that's potentially more of a problem. My last question to Ian was going to be, do you want to hear my Emperor Palpatine impression? Now he's not here to say, no, I'm just going to do it anyway. Would you like to hear my Emperor Palpatine impression? It's actually terrible, but I'm going to do it anyway. I have two. We're quite safe from your pitiful little band. That's one. Sorry, it's terrible. And my favorite one, I get chills every time I watch this scene in the movie when Luke throws the lightsaber away and says, "You failed, Your Highness. I'm a Jedi like my father before me." And the Emperor says, "So be it, Jedi." And I get chills every time, like the disdain just dripping off of his voice, the way he says Jedi. Love it. Mads, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
You may or may not remember
I know
this.
nothing about Star Wars.
You're in good company. You're in very good company.
There's about 2 questions I can answer. Let's shoot. Yeah, come on, let's shoot.
You may or may not remember this, but when we met at the Rogue One premiere, we were both a little bit worse for wear. And I came up to talk to you about, like, we were still on a high from, like, the film turned out so great and everyone was excited. And you and I were talking and you just kind of beckoned me over like it was a little secret and you said, "We made a Star Wars." And I was like, "Yeah, we did." That was just the coolest moment. And then you expressed to me, you're a little bit annoyed that your character in the movie you didn't have your own action figure, which was true at the time.
Yeah, it was true at the time, but
You didn't have one.
Yeah.
But
But
I wanted to make sure that you did have your own action figure.
there you go. Oh. Yeah, I whined and pleaded so much, so eventually they gave in. I was really annoying about it, actually, to be honest.
But
it's a disaster to be in a Star Wars film and invent the Death Star and you don't get your own character. It's like the biggest weapon in history. It doesn't make sense. So,
well, now you have, because I went on Amazon to get that, and I found out that there is that, and you have one of those Funko Pop bobblehead characters as well.
Yeah,
so.
bobblehead character.
Yeah, you have a bobblehead.
Yeah, that's scary stuff.
So I wanted to start with you because you are kind of the newest member of the Star Wars family from Rogue One, and obviously you've played iconic characters before. You know, you played this Hannibal Lecter is on the stage right now, and a James Bond villain. But for me personally, I always feel like Star Wars is just on a whole other level. As Rian Johnson says, it's in a category of one. There's just nothing else like it. So I just wondered, since in the time that the movie has been out in the last year or so, is that something you've been conscious of? I know that like, for a lot of actors, there's your life before you're in a Star Wars movie and your life after. Do you feel like anything has changed? Like, is it nice to just be recognized on the street for playing a good guy for once? I wonder like what the experience has been like for you post Rogue One.
Do you think the guy who invented the Death Star is a good guy? Well, nice try. Yeah, I mean, it is a world of its own. I mean, Bond, when I did that, was a world of its own. I had never experienced anything like it, and then when I did the Marvel film, it was a world of its own. But Star Wars was a complete different world. I mean, the amount of people who knows everything about it and who's been, growing up with it. I mean, I have, but I didn't jump on that train when I was a kid. I was on that Bruce Lee train, So I got the chance later in life to watch them all, and I can see why it's appealing to so many people. And it's just, there's nothing you can compare with that. And that's for that reason I said, hey, we made a Star Wars film, which is kind of surreal, right? But we did. And my life hasn't changed, but I can tell that other kinds of people recognize me. So since post Rogue One, you find yourself getting recognized as Galen as opposed to Hannibal or other characters that you've played? Well, I mean, I don't always ask people, but they might mention why they want to shake my hand or whatever. And there's quite a few people that are Star Wars fans there now. I love it. Bring it on.
What was I'm curious to know how what was your approach to the role? It's interesting because again, like you thought of me as when you were surprised when I said I thought of you as a good guy. That was always my view of the character as a guy that kind of was pushed into an impossible situation and forced to do terrible things, but then tried to find a way to undo it.
But not really. I mean, he's a scientist. He's a brilliant scientist, right? So in many ways, I think we compared him to an Oppenheimer, a man who's just absorbed with his job to invent something that has the potential to save the world from everything bad. But as often, it can also destroy the world, and that's what happened with his invention. So I just see him as a character that's to a degree narcissistic, absorbed in his work, and before he knows it, then it's too late. He realizes what this invention can be used for as well, and it's too late.
Yes, as you may recall, the original working title for the Rogue One project was Los Alamos. That was the name that John Knoll gave it, because it was your character was very much inspired by Oppenheimer, as you say, had built this terrible thing and realized too late what he had done.
I mean, they knew what they were building, right? To be honest, the thing is that if your mind is set on it, you keep telling yourself it can be used for beautiful reasons, right? So you will keep going, you will keep going until the day it's too late, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of good-hearted scientists out there that bailed out eventually, and he did as well, this character. But he couldn't really bail out. They brought him back in again.
In your view, do you feel like the character is redeemed by the end of his story? Did what he do in trying to get the message out and building the floor into the Death Star, was that enough to redeem or undo what he had done?
Well, that's a big question. I think that's all he could do, right? And the question is obviously more in the eyes of his daughter, Erso, whether he gets a place in her heart that is not a cold place. And I think that's an important part of the story. And I think he redeemed himself with her.
It's interesting what you say about how it could be used for good. I mean, one of the things that somebody brought this up to me afterwards, and I thought it was a really good point, that the way that the Empire is kind of harvesting kyber crystals en masse to power the weapon is, of course, historically, kyber crystals are used to power Jedi lightsabers. So the kyber crystal was essentially a kind of power source of truth and justice. And now the Empire have corrupted it into this terrible genocidal weapon. I always thought it was kind of a beautiful touch that the kyber crystal had been kind of corrupted and turned into that terrible thank you for being in Rogue One. I'm so grateful for your performance in that film. I really did think that you brought so much humanity to that role. Elevated the whole movie, made all of us look better than we really are. I have 2 pieces of Galen Erso Star Wars trivia for you. One from me and one which was handed to me. Galen, I don't know how much you care, Galen's original name in the very first draft of Rogue One was actually Walton Erso. I named him after, Walton is George's middle name, George Walton Lucas.
Walton?
Walton.
All right, I like Galen.
That's why I wasn't the last writer on the movie. And the other piece of trivia, apparently 2 weeks before the Death Star was destroyed, Galen Erso was named Imperial Employee of the Month. Too little too late, I guess.
Here you go, that answers your previous question, doesn't it?
Daniel.
Those are my questions. Cool.
Daniel. Boba Fett. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to say, like, I literally wrote, the first thing I wrote is just say, "You are Boba Fett!" exclamation mark. That's just all I wrote. It's so cool. Let me ask you, like, I know obviously it's a role that you played a long time ago, really. I mean, you're a boy, now you're a man. You've grown up with having played that role. How much does that fact, I mean, you're sitting there with a Boba Fett helmet on your lap right now. How much does that play into your day-to-day life? It's obviously this hugely pivotal role that you play, but like, in terms of like your career, it's just like it's one thing. But what does it mean for you to have played Boba Fett and all these years later still be here in front of fans that are so appreciative of you having played that character?
You know, when I first got the role to play Boba Fett, I was actually sought after Temuera here. They had casted him, then they went to try and find a son of his. And when I went for the audition, I was really auditioning. I auditioned out of thousands of kids, but I was auditioning really just to be able to tell the next person that I auditioned to be in Star Wars. I never really expected to get the role. I was always like, my agent was like, "Man, you don't understand, this is gonna change your career. Every time you walk in a room, you're gonna be able to say you auditioned for Star Wars." I'm like, all right, cool, like what is Star Wars? But I'll say it if it gets me the next job. Being such a young kid, I grew up in New Zealand where we only had 3 TV channels. So my mom was raising 6 kids by herself. So let alone was reality just to be able to survive and eat. But it wasn't the fantasy land of being able to go to the movie theaters or having that luxury to go and watch a movie, especially like Star Wars. When I got in the movie, I never knew exactly what my life was going to change. And my life changed tremendously. 15 years old, I moved from New Zealand, and I asked George Lucas and Ewan McGregor to write me letters to come and immigrate to your beautiful country, the United States. Well, as a 15-year-old kid, I didn't realize everything else that was going to entail to be able to stay here in the United States. But when you have a man like George Lucas that writes you a letter, your life kind of changes dramatically, let alone put you in a movie like Star Wars. So he wrote me a handwritten written letter. Sorry, just got off a plane. And he said that my contributes to this country would be so great for not only Star Wars, but the country. It was amazing. I mean, if I could have wrote a better, like, suck-up letter in the world, it was the right letter. So I go back to New Zealand. I'm there for a couple of days. They say I'll be there for about 6 months. And I get a call from my lawyer that says, "You've been approved to come back home to the United States." And I mean, that's only a letter, like a signature, like George Lucas can change. You know, as a 15-year-old kid, you expect to go home to your mommy, and then you're going to be working, doing construction for the rest of your life. Where he, just by signing this letter, really changed my whole entire life. And ever since that moment, I've dedicated my life to Star Wars, but also this character, Boba Fett. So even to today, like 4 years ago, I was doing the Clone Wars, and that was an amazing experience. It was really amazing. We had about 6 more episodes that were coming out before Disney purchased it. And they said it was just a little too graphic for the Disney Channel. But in my mind, I'm like, that's Boba Fett, sucker! You know, like, what do you want me to do? Run around like, oh, my dad got his head chopped off right in front of me, but I'm gonna play in Barbie dolls and dress up as... Well, you know, not judging, but there was different circumstances of where Boba Fett come from, and because of that, we now know the backstories. You have to appreciate that storyline. So when I met Dave Filoni, I thought that I'd bought him enough dinners and lunches in order to solidify myself another job.
You've never bought Dave Filoni enough lunches. I can.
Well, no,
promise
there's two stories real quick I'd tell you, because there's other people here. So he says to me, no, Daniel, I never gave you the job. I said, what do you mean? He goes, not this time. He said, George Lucas actually came into the storyboard room and said, I want young Boba Fett in the Clone Wars, call Daniel Logan. And that's like God calling you to heaven twice. You know, like, so then I'm like, well, you didn't give me my job? You didn't give me my job, Dave? What's this about? He said, you know what though, kid? I did pay you already in the past. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, my wife and I were at a convention, and we saw this lonely little boy sitting there at a convention with nobody in his line. And we felt sad for you. So we came and donated however much it was for your autograph just to get my autograph. I'm like, you're kidding, right? So he gets his wife to take a picture of the autograph that I had signed. So it was a true story. I'm like, man, Boba Fett has been great. You know, I'm the Boba Fett, then you're like Boba Fett, then you're like Boba Fett, then you're like Boba Fett. We're hoping to get back to that Boba Fett again, you know? If you understand what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's my life in a nutshell. But now I come to conventions and I hold the head of Boba Fett on my lap.
The immigration thing is pretty amazing, though. Yeah. That he did that for you. It's funny. I mean, when you work in Star Wars, everyone has their own story about like when George walks in the room. It's like, oh my God, like this immortal just walked in the room. Especially if you grew up on it. It's like, oh my God, like I don't know what I would be doing. I have no idea what I would be doing without Star Wars. Probably something completely different, and it's all thanks to what he created. But I remember on Rogue, he came to visit the set. He came to visit the model shop and everything at Pinewood, and the director was showing him around, and George was like, I like that, I like that. And anything that George said he liked, that was going in the movie. Like as soon as he blessed it. And he looked at they had this beautiful model they'd built of the maquette of the U-Wing troop ship that we created for Rogue One. And it hadn't been painted yet. But he said, I like that. Okay, so that's going in the movie. And then Gareth said, would you sign something? And he grabbed, and without being asked, George just grabbed it and signed the U-Wing. And everyone was thrilled, but then they went, well shit, now we have to build another one, because we can't paint this one. We can't paint it. Who's going to paint over George? So they set that one aside and had to build another one from scratch. So the great thing about Boba, of course, is that he, you know, for a character that has got, what, maybe a dozen lines in the whole saga, has taken on a life of his own in the imaginations of fans, like way beyond, I think, what anyone expected when he first showed up in Holiday Special, and then, remember Holiday Special, and Empire. Two questions for you real quick before I move on. Do you have any thoughts of your own about Boba Fett stories that you'd still like to see told, personally?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have friends now that are all designers of Boba Fett, costumers, Boba Fett, right? There you go. That's why I have such a beautiful helmet. But it's funny, I had conversations about Boba Fett all day long with my nerdy friends. You know, you talk nerdy to me, I talk nerdy back, you know? It's like, so I'm like, oh man, how cool would it be if I get a Stormtrooper helmet and a Stormtrooper outfit? That'd be sick. So my buddy's Nino was like, you cannot be a Stormtrooper. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you could be a clone, you could be Commander Rex, you could be Commander Cody, you could be Boba, Jango, you can't be a Stormtrooper. I'm like, well, why not? He's like, because the backstories don't allow that, Daniel. Well, what are you talking about, Nino? You could be a clone, but the clones were all killed after episode 3. They were wiped out. After that, it was Stormtroopers. Stormtroopers, they end up searching the galaxy for young kids that they could train up to become Stormtroopers. That in order to become their unique own individual, they had to get these children that became children that were Stormtroopers. I'm like, so the clone troopers weren't Storm? No, Daniel, they weren't. So you can imagine all these stories I have and argue about characters and backstories of Star Wars, you know? But I'm the youngest in the franchise, so I have to be able to hold with the storylines, you know? Like, oh, yeah, you're right about that. I can't be a Stormtrooper. You're right. What was I even thinking? Sorry, did I answer your question?
Yes, very well. Temuera, I wanted to come to you. What I like about you, and it's a long list, but the one thing that I'm gonna point out right now is you have played. It occurred to me as I was preparing for this. You have played some pretty awesome dads. As a dad, I appreciate your awesome dads that you have played. Jango Fett.
My dad.
Chief Tui, this is Moana's dad.
Nobody goes on beyond the reef.
But I don't mean to take it from you, Gary. Gary's quite the man. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just, there was a gentleman who wanted to be here. He didn't want to interrupt. He was taking a lot of time with fans. I gotta tell you, he's just a super nice guy. There were two young ladies there. We were trying to pull him away, but Ray wants to join you guys. Yeah. So if it's all right with you guys, Gary, I'm sorry to interrupt the show. We're gonna bring out a chair.
Big round of applause, guys.
Oh yeah.
How excited are you that Darth Maul's in the house?
And Daniel, and on my way, Ray is just one of the nicest guys.
Amen.
Ray is one of the nicest guys.
Look at that smile.
And if you haven't met Ray or got an autograph, take the time. And I gotta tell you, he really takes the time with his fans and he cares. So thank you, buddy. Oh, thanks, huh? And he'll make out with you. Wow. See you guys. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry I'm late. Sorry, I didn't want to come in like this and interrupt everyone.
But you did.
Beautiful. Welcome, Ray Ray. Welcome.
I like how Ray shows up just like Darth Maul, like the door. Oh shit, is this guy? Like, what I do with this guy now?
I thought.
Thank you for coming.
Oh yeah, sorry, so thanks for allowing me to come on stage. So sorry guys.
It's all good, Ray. It's all good. Like I was enjoying Darth Maul, and then all of a sudden he got killed too early. Now, many years later, I'm watching myself as Jango Fett, and I'm really starting to get into this movie. Me and Zam, and we had some rocket thing going on there. My spaceship, my son.
Then you cut your damn head off.
And then that scene came along. With Mace Windu guy. Well, I suddenly lost interest in the movie. I gotta watch the second half.
Well, you know, when, as I'm sure you'll know, Ray, when Darth Maul got cut in half in episode 1, he didn't actually die. They got a lot more. It didn't actually kill him until the last season of Rebels. So I don't know, like maybe a head coming off is different than being cut in half.
When I got the part as Jango, we had to go find a son. And I had the casting agent with me in New Zealand. And we had to go find Bodhi's character too, like the one in between. And he was at the clone factory. So I'm driving the casting agent around New Zealand. I'm running a bit late. I got a couple of brothers down the road here. We'll go see them. I was going a little fast. And I see the cop turn around. He's chasing me. He's got the lights on. And I thought, I'll just carry on for a bit. And then Robin Galen, the casting agent for Star Wars, she goes, I'm sure that policeman's pulling us over. I'm having a look. Yeah, I think you're right, Robin. I think they're pulling us over. So pull over. And I pulled over, and the cop comes up to the window. And I said, excuse me, officer. Do you know who this lady is? And he said, no, I wouldn't have a clue. This is the casting agent for Star Wars. Which part would you like? and the bugger still gave me a ticket. I just thought I'd throw that story in. This was Nicole Kidman. And she got washed up at my lighthouse. I'm a lighthouse keeper, protecting all the ships. And it's okay, don't tell anybody. And Queen of Atlantis turns up at my lighthouse, and we kind of hang out for a bit. And make a little fishy baby. Called Aquaman. So yeah, look forward to that this Christmas. You know, it's going to be something quite different too. Look, we're here for Star Wars and all of that, so I love Star Wars and all my family here, and Mads and everybody, Ray, Boba. But anyway, this Aquaman is going to be incredible. Something you've never seen before, because it's underwater. Have you watched the movie Underwater before?
I've not been underwater.
Yeah, it's all underwater. So it's going to be incredible, a vista of visuals, new visuals for your eyes.
Like Little Mermaid.
Little mermaids, seahorses, these things that we've never seen before. Aquaman, Aquadad. Oh my God. I hope they keep me in the movie, because generally they cut me out early or kill me.
So what are you going to do if they cut your head off in this one out of nowhere?
I'll be very disappointed again.
I'll build you an Aqua Death Star.
Yes. You know what it's like. You're playing all those bad guys.
Yep.
I want to live for a change.
I'm with you.
That is the actors will always tell you that it's more fun to play bad guys, but you are probably going to get killed.
I don't know why
Probably
they
going to
say
get
that.
killed.
It sucks being the bad guy.
Yeah, we die.
Why do they say it's always great being the bad guy?
They get all the ladies.
No, we don't.
Well, I guess Han Solo, right? Our movie doesn't make sense.
I can't recall any ladies in that. Category.
Well, on Instagram right now, it's saying that I was with Padme before Anakin. Talk about sloppy
It
sex.
was on Instagram? Did you say?
That's a meme going around
I mean,
right
if
now.
it's on Instagram, it's got to be true, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's canon if it's on Instagram.
And Ray, have you seen our boss around? He was supposed to be here too. Where's our boss?
Emperor Palpatine?
Isn't he our boss?
So I have a line. You know how you said you have lines? I have lines.
You have an Emperor line?
Yeah.
I got to hear it.
Ready?
Yeah.
You guys ready?
All right.
Hi Ian, how you doing?
How about Ian? You remember that?
That was
Sounded
uncanny.
like he had
That was
really needed to take a
uncanny.
number 2.
For a
like,
sec-
when I did this, it was like... I'm just saying, if you guys see him, don't tell him I said that.
That was uncanny because I was
I'm gonna
turned away for a
report
second.
you.
I was like, wait, I thought you couldn't make it.
Star Wars Authority.
That's it, you're done, man. The Emperor's after you. You're getting it.
Maybe I
I'm
might...
going to move along because I want to get to Ray. I did have one last question for Temuera, but it's also kind of a question for Mads and maybe even for Daniel as well. I think it's interesting that we have 2 really awesome Star Wars dads on stage, the father of Jyn Erso and the father of Boba Fett. So I gotta ask the nerd question and ask you, because these were not just any old dads, but dads to characters that would go on to kick ass all over the galaxy, either as Jyn as Boba. Turn in the page, Daniel. Give me a second.
I got you. Don't you worry.
So what I want to ask all of you, I guess, is in a celebrity showdown, who wins in a throwdown between Jyn and Boba? Matt, so I'd like to bring this to you first.
Well, one of them's got the Death Star. It's quite obvious.
I don't know. You haven't seen Boba fly Slave 1.
Right.
I mean, if we could take out the Death Star with one itty-bitty little pilot like Anakin.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's not a knife. That's a knife, right? Death Star. That's the biggest knife you can get.
But we gotta watch episode 1.
Am I in it?
He's like Jango. Once he's out, he's done. Like, forget this movie.
I only watch stuff I'm in this time. Life's too short.
No, there was a little baby buddy of mine called Annie. Annie, he had the midichlorian levels of a Sith-like Rey, but he was only like, I was gonna say 5 years old. What, 8? 8 years old? How old was he? 8? But he was able to take on not only the Death Star, but he was able to take on the whole entire dark side at first, and then he changed and took on the light side in episode 2 and 3.
You didn't write that, did you?
Huh? I don't remember everything I've written, but I've written some bad stuff. But
I definitely would have killed Mace Windu if he wrote it.
But you can't have people taking on the Death Star. It's just dumb, you know.
Luke Skywalker here. Luke Skywalker can take on the Death Star. I remember.
Yeah.
And the
but with your help, because you built the back door that he shot his thing into.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, wrong convention.
Well, come on, you people, get out of the gutter. Come on.
PG, guys, PG. It's like my
Family
Instagram. I'm like, I can't have you
franchise.
following me no more. You say that kind of stuff, I gotta delete you.
I feel like I need to go to the bar to catch up with you guys.
Going on. I'll give you a little bit of trivia. I had a personal reason for asking about the Jyn versus Boba, because in the very, very first draft of Rogue One, the 2 characters actually met. But I'm not going to tell you what happened, because they should have filmed it. Ray, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, it's been a pleasure just to sit here.
Well, now you have to work. Now you have to answer the questions. I actually want to take you all the way back to the beginning, because I actually don't know the answer. I know you must have answered this question a million times, but I don't know the answer. Can you just tell us, Daniel told a similar story, what it was like for you? Can you remember like what it felt for you when you first realized you were going to be in a Star Wars movie and playing a Sith Lord, double-bladed lightsaber and all this kind of stuff? Like, take us back to what that felt like when you first realized this was going to be a real thing for you.
It's 20 years since working on Phantom Menace, And you remember new things at conventions. I've been doing conventions, appearing for the last 15 years. But I never once thought I'd be answering certain questions. And I remember my good friend on there, and he was laughing. He goes, you're going to be traveling the world, signing autographs, and you're going to be out there with Kenny, and doing that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no clue what he was talking about. And I just remember when I first went in for Darth Maul, well, I didn't go in for Darth Maul. Nikon, the stunt coordinator, asked me to come in. I just finished doing Mortal Kombat. I wasn't a stuntman, I wasn't an actor, but I wanted to get into films. I wanted to be like Jackie Chan. I wanted to get out there and take my top off like Van Damme and do box splits, and do martial art movies. And so when I met with Nick, I didn't know what I was going into do. And then after about an hour, he started showing me pictures of Darth Maul. And then a few hours later, I was still there. And so I thought, this is a good first time meeting, So I knew nothing was going to happen in the stunt world because I wasn't a stunt guy. But he said, if anything, whatever happens, I'll bring you on anyway, Ray. So when I did land the part, I was always thinking, at any moment now, they're going to tell me I don't have it. So for like 2 or 3 months, we're rehearsing every day. I just couldn't wait for my first day in front of camera. So I knew once I'm in camera, that's it. I'm actually doing it. I thought it was I didn't believe it until it was happening. And the first scene we did was with Ian. And it was the Tatooine is sparsely populated. But back then it was more like, Tatooine is sparsely populated. If the trace was correct, I'll find them quickly, my master, you know what I mean? We're a little higher, you know what I mean? And I remember looking to Ian and goes, is that okay? And he goes, well, if George hasn't said anything, just keep on doing it. So it gave me confidence, And I always felt, this is not happening.
I know, right? It's surreal.
Let's get to the fights. Come on. Once we get in the fights, we're at the end of the schedule for shooting the movie. And that was the last thing we were doing for about 8 weeks. And so then I knew we were actually doing it. And then I had to wait 2 years for it to come out. And they were the longest 2 years ever.
Because you can't say a word, right?
I couldn't. I tried to get an agent. And then my wife's mum was saying, you should do modeling. I'm like, me a model? So I believed it. So I started applying to modeling agencies. And then I put myself down as 5'10", I was like 5'8.5" at the time. 5'9" now, right? And then, so I said, I'm in a new Star Wars movie, but I'm the new bad guy, but I can't tell you what it is because I'm not allowed to. And she goes, what, are you an Ewok? So it was one of those, 2 years I had to wait, and I couldn't get an agent, I couldn't do this, but I wanted to do Van Damme movies and go to Hong Kong and work with Jackie Chan. And then it was just an explosion when it came out.
So how did it change once it was actually out there and people knew that was you?
First I made the front cover of The Sun. What in a good way.
Is there ever a good way to be on the front page of The Sun?
I was like, well, come on, I'm on a try. I didn't even give it a try. So it was like, it was just, everyone was trying to find out who this guy is playing Darth Maul. And I gave my word. And of course, my best friend and my peer to martial arts, and if I ever see him in the ring one day, I will take him out. He sold his story to The Sun and said who I was. And I was like, I was supposed to be my glory moment for millions of dollars. So I never got to, so no. But it was great. I enjoyed it. It was the best. I got to meet people who are only watching movies. And I grew up with Star Wars. I thought I could be a Jedi one day, 8 years old, after watching Empire, and that was why I got into martial arts as well, because of Empire Strikes Back and seeing Luke train with Master Yoda. And I said, I want to do gymnastics and I want to do Kung Fu.
It really is. It really is. On the set, I was on the Yavin 4 base, and the droid rolls by you, and you're like, this is ridiculous. This can't be real. And I was standing around with these extras, the X-Wing pilot extras, and I was challenged. I said, are you guys extra actors? And they went, no, we're real RAF pilots. We fly planes for a living, because there's a certain look, like a military bearing that they wanted in the pilots. And I said, well, so this must seem kind of silly to you. You fly real planes, and this is like a mock, it's full size, but it's obviously a fake X-Wing, and these buttons don't do anything. This must seem kind of silly to you. And one of the guys got kind of emotional. He said, no, you don't get it. The whole reason why I'm a pilot is because I wanted to fly an X-Wing when I was a kid. It's the whole reason I'm in the RAF. And now he got to do it. And that was he had a whole career as a real pilot, so he could pretend to be a fake one for one day. And it was amazing. I'm curious, did you know your fate? Was there anything when you finally saw the movie, you were like, did you know you were going to get chopped in half? Like, did you know everything about your character before you saw it?
When Tim was talking earlier, I was pitching for my head to be chopped in half. So we filmed this alternate scenes where originally I got crazy on the physical side, and the platforms we fought on, we all backflip off and jump off on. I'd suddenly just go, screw this, and jump up and spin the lightsaber and slice the platform. And the Jedi slide down, and then I slide back after them. Again, I was trying to get every Van Damme, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, you name it, in there, split kicks. Yeah. And some of the kicks you see me doing, I would be going, woo, like this. Because we made that fight up in the spot. We turned up one day, and everyone's stressing out. There was a fight that we didn't rehearse for. And it was a fight where Qui-Gon backfist Darth Maul, and then I'd do that funny kick. That whole sequence, me going down on my knees and twisting, we just made it up, and we had to do it, and no one knew. It was only Nick and Andreas and myself. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun to do. And at that time, I was trying to use my horns. Because Liam was so much taller than me, and I would always get really down, and I'd have to adjust and stand up, and it was just habit. I was used to getting down lower in Kung Fu, and I said to George, can I use the horns? These horns, I feel like I could, you know.
It'd be a pretty good headbutt, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm Scottish, so I was like,
See you, Jimmy.
The Glasgow Kiss?
Glasgow Kiss, aye.
The Glasgow Kiss, that's right, very well done.
See, I think I'm catching up a little bit. Yeah,
one last question for Ray, and then I have one quick one for Mads, and then we're going to take questions from the audience. So I don't know how they're doing this, but if you want to ask a question, there's presumably some kind of system for that. Ray, were you surprised to discover years later that your character didn't actually die?
That's what I was getting to with a long story. I was trying to get the chopped in half because I knew the character was being killed. I knew the character was going to be dubbed as well, and I knew that in the beginning. And so it was all about the physical side. It was an opportunity, and I kind of wish I was asked to be a Jedi and not the bad guy. But I'm glad now. You know, it's been a great experience. Where are you going?
He's done with your...
It's fascinating. Keep going.
So...
Carry on, Ray, that was great.
Thank you. So Nick...
Pretend he's still in.
So Nick Gillard said, no, Ray, if they chop your head off, then they can't bring you back. And you never know, Star Wars, if we do slice it in half, they can bring you back. So I said, well, they're not going to bring us back because we already knew what was happening in 2 and 3. So then that carrot was dangled there like, you could be brought back. You know? So I'm kind of glad that they cut the character in half instead of chopping the head.
I mean, it felt pretty definitive to me at the time, chopped in half. But
it did to me, because I knew...
In Star Wars, I guess, you know, anything's possible.
No, I knew. Not for 1 minute did I think that character's coming back anymore. You'll see him in 2 and 3, until I saw the character in the cartoons. And I was like, oh, great, Daddy's going to have to...
Going around on the spider legs?
Yeah, it was great.
And then we finally did kill him in Rebels. Obi-Wan got to finish him off, which I thought was a nice way for him to go, yeah. So Mads, just finally to you, it's a very simple question. I just want to ask you, what's your favorite memory from your time working on Rogue One? Do you have a particular favorite moment or an anecdote or just something that felt special to you from your time working on the movie?
Well, I liked everything, and I think one of the days where, I mean, working with Felicity, we only had a few days together. It was just, I mean, the whole story was about them not meeting up since she was 5 years old. So when I finally had the scenes with her, it was really beautiful. She was a fantastic cast. She was a fantastic actress. But an even bigger moment was probably when I went for lunch one day. And we've done all this stuff in Iceland. We've kind of been isolated from the Star Wars universe, but that particular day I went to lunch, and there was a table that was maybe, I don't know, 60 yards long, full of stormtrooper helmets. I was like, oh, cool. I'm in a Star Wars film. I'm going to go. And I took a photo. And somebody immediately, you know, went like that on my shoulder, saying, can I have your phone? erase. But that's when I realized I was in that film. It was fantastic. It was...
Yeah, for me it was on the beach. I was watching Felicity run across the beach, and she had something. It was my first day on the set. I didn't know what she had in her hand. She had this looked like a hard drive, and I realized, oh shit, those are the Death Star plans. And I got choked up. And I had to go over to the prop master and I said, you have to let me hold that just for 1 second. It was like this greatest moment. Thank you so much. So we did run long, so fan questions we'll have
That's
to wait.
my
But
fault,
we do.
sorry.
It's yes. I wasn't going to be the one to say it.
What are you saying? No questions?
No, well, no, we do. So I'm told here we have one fan. I guess these guys get special dispensation. Fair enough. The Rebel Legion has a question they would like to ask. So should we? Do they come up on stage? Oh, here's the Rebel Legion over this side.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Wrong theme music.
Hello, Luke. Impressive. Most impressive.
Most impressive.
But you are not a Jedi.
Jedi.
Oh, that's... Wait.
Right.
So we've got
Always a
Luke's, we've got
pleasure
Rey's,
talking
we've
to
got
Jedi.
Anakin's, we've got old man, green milk drinking Luke.
You're great, guys.
We've got a clone trooper, we've got X-Wing pilots, we have another Jyn Erso. Oh my goodness.
Hi.
What's up? What are you guys, what are you doing?
Hello everybody, I am Donald. I am the base commanding officer for the local Rebel Legion chapter, which is Endor base here in Northern California. And many of these X-Rank stars have, and behind the scenes and on the scenes, has influenced us in so many ways. They make us want to dress up in these costumes and visit kids in pediatric hospitals and work with Make-A-Wish and do parades and do conventions like this, and we are very thankful to them all. Now, Daniel, Temuera, and Rey have already had the honor of being honorary members of the Rebel Legion, and today we would like to induct Mads.
Wow.
And
I wasn't sure whether I'm going to be executed or on here. I'm on the right side today. Thank you.
and Gary.
Oh my goodness, seriously?
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. It's unbelievable. Thank you.
We are so very thankful for what you do. We just wanted to show our appreciation for all that you've done for Star Wars.
You remember? Well, you wrote yourself into this, didn't you? Thank you so much, guys.
I tell you what, the Rebel Legion's come a long way since I was inducted. I got a certificate with my name on it, like I was just coming out of high school. It's been that long. I really feel old now. I was looking at his plaque like, man, I could have that on my wall.
It's
I
funny,
have a certificate hidden.
I tipped Mads off earlier. I said, just so you know, Rebel Legion might be giving you an honor. He went, why not the 501st? I'm an Imperial.
We don't talk about them here.
I said no, but I said,
Well, that was the actor talking. That was me.
Mads might be in a position to be the only person to get both, because he is kind of bi-curious in the, Rebel.
Hey, don't talk like that in front of his daughter.
That's true, yeah. And that is very fashionable these days. But I'm very
Yeah, no judgments. Thank you so much. What an honor. Yeah, of course.
Of course, yeah.
You want to be rounded? Should we?
Yeah, we just sit, I guess, and then you come around us.
Hey, can someone take one with my phone? Shine a light on him.
What can I do with What? No.
The dark side. Thanks, man.
They're talking about on the, where, up here. Is that, oh, sorry, last one.
Thank you for putting that back door in the Death Star. There would be no Star Wars without it, without that exhaust port.
There's two ladies down there. That's awesome.
They deserve a round of applause.
Thank you, the Rebel Legion.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, so before, see ya, sweetheart. Before we all go, can I take a video with my phone, put you guys on my Instagram? Maybe if you see yourself in the dark, you could be like, that was me. All right. Hopefully. Let's see if I can see them all. Oh, that's just my ugly Star Wars family. All right. Here we are in San Jose with the beautiful people in California. Say what's up, everybody. And here's my Star Wars family, Mr. Ray Park, our new loving new father, and my father, and yeah.
Galen Erso.
Yeah, in the back there. So guys, here we are in San Jose. Come out and see us. We love you all.
One more time for Ray Park, Mikkelsen, Temuera, Morrison, and Daniel Logan.
Thank you for sitting and waiting.
Once again, thank you. Coming up in just a moment.